Hi everyone, hope you're well. This week I wanted to talk about why do people have imposter syndrome, and this is a really important topic. There's a lot of people that struggle with this, and a lot of people that talk to me about it, and it's kind of come out some other conversations. So, an imposter syndrome is really kind of comparing yourself to others, and this always becomes a problem because all you're seeing from others is the best. In social media is amazing for this. So you see the fitness guy that's in amazing shape. You don't see everything that he's had to give up in order to have that body, whether it's not socialising, spending 2 hours in the gym a day, potentially taking performance enhancing drugs or anything like that. And you kind of don't see that. You don't also see the path that someone's taken. So you don't see the failures. You don't see the time someone's presented and it hasn't gone well, or a project has completely bombed, because that's where people kind of grow the most anyway. So you're sort of seeing them for the bits where they've achieved, but not the kind of steps on the way to get there. And also you're comparing how you feel to how they act. So you don't feel confident when you're on stage talking. There's very few people that do. But when you're watching someone that's good at presenting, they're probably panicking on the inside, but they show that they're really confident. So again, you're then comparing yourself, that why are you nervous when they find it so easy? And you kind of, the big thing about imposter syndrome is you feel like a fraud, and you feel like you shouldn't be there, and your biggest fear, and it's something that I have, is you worry about being found out. So what happens if someone realises I'm not as good at this as what everyone thought I was? And that's really hard to deal with. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, and they said an amazing thing. And they just said, did you say you were this good? Did you promise you would be able to deliver X? Or so cut yourself some slack. No one sits there and goes, I am the best presenter in the world. Like, if someone says they're the best presenter in the world, that's their own fault. But if you go in and you're honest and open and you just kind of talk, there isn't as much expectation as people think. So why is imposter syndrome kind of the kind of pain of it and the problem with it? And the first thing is you lack progression. So what you'll do is you'll start to avoid challenges. You'll sit in your comfort zone, you'll stay with the status quo, and you'll feel like you don't want to expose yourself. And the one that I think I'm probably worst at is you'll start to make negative comments about yourself. Oh, I'll never be able to do that. Or I'll never be as good as this person. And the problem is it's then self-fulfilling. You never will be as good as that person. But also the other people will start to believe it. If I tell someone there's no way I'd be able to do that, well, guess what? They take it at face value. You told them you couldn't do it. Then you can't do it. So it's something really to be important about. And then the big thing about imposter syndrome is it will bubble up in all sorts of other ways. So when you're kind of feeling out of place and you're feeling unnerved, it's going to start to cause mental stress. You'll worry, you'll get ill, and then that impacts your life. So it's not just a work thing anymore. It's a whole life thing. I've seen this from a few people. We've kind of talked about it, and work's the unimportant part of this at this stage when you're struggling mentally or physically. So just a few little bits to talk about. Firstly, 70% of high achievers struggle with imposter syndrome, and they don't talk about it. The reason they don't talk about it is they assume it's a character flaw, because again, like we were talking about, you've seen people that are being successful, you're being told that you're successful or you're doing really well, and then you kind of can't understand it, so you bottle it up, you don't tell people. And this often comes from being in a situation where you've got a high challenge and low support. Working in IT, I see this a lot. I've struggled with it as well. Is one of the big ones is going from being a tech to a manager or leader, because from there you're going into new areas you've never done before. So that might be end of year reviews, it might be financials, project justification rather than just project delivery. And if you don't have a really good boss that's there to kind of support you and help you along, or if you're not asking for it, that can really shine a light on that sort of syndrome. And then what you'll end up seeing is people will hide in tech. So if you're the tech, the guy that went up to management, you'll basically regress back. So what you'll start doing is you'll go to your comfort zone, you'll carry on doing tech. That'll stop your progression. You will then actually be not delivering what you should be doing because you're supposed to be leading a group. But then also you'll annoy your direct reports or people within the group that are supposed to be delivering that technology that you're now doing. And within IT again, I think we have a lot of perfectionists. I certainly am. And what you have is someone wants to be 100% and they want to get things exactly right. So what they do is you set excessively high goals for yourself. So when you sort of setting your targets, you're excessively high. So you might say, this project we need to have 0 downtime, or we need to have 100% compliance when we come out of it. And that's almost impossible. So what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for a goal that is basically unachievable. And then when you miss it, you feel like you failed because you had that. So then the next time you do this project again, you feel like you're not going to succeed at this because you're not very good at your job, and actually you just set yourself the wrong target. IT is great for perfectionists because usually it's ones and zeros. It either does or it doesn't. So there's a load of people that are logic drawn to IT. So then the logic says if I process this right, 100%. But it's never the way. There's always a gremlin in the system. So what you'll see is when you're struggling with imposter syndrome, people will just push. So they'll work harder. They'll just do more hours. They'll assume that the best way to do this is to just drive through it. So what you'll then see is that leads to overload. Overload then leads to struggles with your relationships, whether that's at work because you're kind of feeling under pressure, so you're fighting it. It'll be family. It'll start to impact your mental, physical well-being. So what you'll see is people sort of shut off from doing their hobbies. They'll stop doing exercise because they're too busy because they're trying to achieve something that's unobtainable. And then that'll just have all the negatives. That you won't want to go out. You'll be checking your phone in the evenings. You don't really relax. You don't really switch off, and then it's just kind of bubbling up on itself. And then that just adds to it. You just everything's kind of compounds on top. When you're not doing exercise, you'll probably not eat well. You'll then not sleep well, and then you'll be stressed in the morning, and then you'll be struggling with your job, and then so you're kind of compounding. Compounding interest is fantastic when it's on finances, not so much when it's on your life. And then what people tend to do is, because they're kind of unsettled and they're feeling like they're not doing a good job, they'll then chase external validation. So you'll see people continually saying, "Oh, am I doing a good job? Am I doing a good job? Is there anything I can work on?" And again, that's fine, but then what happens if the person doesn't give you the right validation? So maybe they've got the wrong expectation. That's impacting you again, that there's someone putting negativity on. And then also there's this sense of, from the outside, that this person is needy. And then that can be, that's, why are they needy? Why do they need reassurance all the time? Are they actually not sort of capable? So then you end up a bit self-fulfilling again. And some really important bits to remember when you finish a project, if you feel like you're a failure or anything else as you go through, is, did you deliver everything you could? Now, if you could and there was nothing else you could do, that's it. That's the best you could do. And then, just kind of what did you, make sure you kind of learn from it. The next bit I'd suggest is, working out where you excel at, and then using other people to help you deliver. Again, from a technology perspective, people that come out of tech and then they start, instead of delivering a project, you're now leading a project, or you're used to delivering a small technology project, now you're delivering a global technology project. You need to pull the right people in. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't avoid it. Don't think that you can problem solve it on your own, because then what you do is you get through the project and you kind of go, I couldn't do that. Like, why can't I do that? I always used to be able to do that. I'm not as good as I used to be, or I'm not very good at this technology. And actually, it's just new and it's different. So ask for help, and really don't be afraid, because the person you ask for help on is probably not as good at other things that you are. So you might be great at project management, but you're not very good at budgets, for example. So you get the person to help with the budgets, but you are great at project management. So just kind of keep that balance in your head. And again, an IT thing is we feel like we need to know everything. So when you're sitting in a project meeting and someone sort of says, I say AWS versus Azure, and you're the server guy and you don't know every little bit about them, you can start to feel like, again, you don't know, and then what you see is people will over certify, or they'll continually learn to train. Whereas what you should actually do is, when you've got a requirement, go learn about it, and then you've got the knowledge. But don't learn in advance, because what you'll do is you'll sort of stifle yourself with too much information that you can't necessarily use, and then you kind of have that culture of, I've got to keep learning, otherwise I won't be good enough. So, and I think job descriptions don't help this very much. I mean, people must have seen, you get sent a job description and it's like, the person must have full capabilities of this, and they've got like 50 things on there. They've got like Cisco, and then they're talking about VMware, and then they're talking about SQL, and they've got coding languages, and they've got project management methodology. Find me someone that can excel at all of those, and well, firstly, I'd like to hire them. But people are shooting for the stars, but again, people read those job descriptions and go, I don't know much. So again, you kind of feel like you're sort of cheating the whole thing. And one of the most important things is, you don't need to know everything. You just need to know where to get the answer from. Now, that might be Google. It's quite a good little tool. Or it might be, there's a online training course you can go and do when you need it. Or there's an SOP that you can go read. So there's a little thing. Few little tips for when you are feeling sort of anxious is, this anxiety is, or the imposter syndrome, is basically going at your fight, flight, freeze from back in caveman days. So when you start to feel like that, you'll tense up, you'll feel nervous about it. So sort of shake your arms, make sure you're nice and relaxed, take some deep breaths, because what happens is, when you're in that fight, flight, freeze, the blood is taken from your brain and it goes to your muscles, so you're ready to fight, or freeze. And what that means is your brain's not getting fed, so it will then go into procrastination. The problem is, procrastination will then lead to you not making a decision, or you might make a decision at the absolute last minute, which isn't well considered, and then you'll go, I didn't make a very good decision there. It's like, you had 2 weeks and you decided to think about it 10 minutes before the end. So again, try and get rid of some of that stress, like do a stress relief. Just sort of to wrap, so just remember, what you're seeing is people's best self. Quite often the polished video you see, someone's made hundreds of videos before, and then suddenly it's polished and you're going, aren't they amazing at their videos? But actually that they've gone through a lot to get there. Same thing with like presenting. People usually work up from small stage, if they're doing external presenting, small stages to medium stages to, the person that stands on a Gartner stage at Symposium and talks comfortably for 45 minutes has done so much work before that. And they're probably really nervous while they're sat on that stage as well. So just because they're talking and they're all polished and they're all sort of fresh, don't think they're not nervous. Bit like sports players as well. They're generally nervous, like nervous energy during a match, and that helps drive them. It's okay not to know everything. Obviously, we can't know it all. We just need to know where to get the help from. The great saying that we learn more from our challenges. So you learn more from your failures than your successes. So if you're not challenging yourself and you're not finding these things that you're not quite good at, you're not actually developing. You're not moving yourself forward. So finding these areas of not being great is actually a great opportunity to go fix them, and then you're an even better person. Stop comparing yourself to others. If you can do that, that's great. Like, everyone's different. You come into an organisation, there's usually like the guy that knows everyone, knows the answer to everything within the company, but then that doesn't mean they know all the technology side. So don't just compare. What you'll find out is that person knows all about the company, they know who to go talk to, and that's brilliant. So and then also a really good one is start mentoring people. So you're standing on a wealth of information that you've learned. And when you start mentoring people and they start asking you and talking about their problems and you can solve their problems, suddenly you realise, hang on, I do have a lot of information. You'll tend to focus on the negativity in life rather than the positivity, or the failures rather than successes. So what you'll find out is you start to talk to people and they're talking about a problem with a project they're having, and you kind of answer it really quickly and they're like, oh, that's brilliant. And you go, oh, I didn't even think that was a valuable piece of information. So you have a wealth of information as you grow. You just kind of forget that it's there. Don't avoid asking for help. Right, that is the biggest one, whether it's imposter syndrome, projects, mental health, food choices, anything you want to do. Like, there's no issue with asking for help. It's how you learn and how you grow. And then just to kind of finish with the comment that someone said to me is, did you say you knew everything? And don't hold yourself to account. Don't hold yourself to an expectation that someone else has set to you. And that's really important. So I hope that's helpful. I'd love to have a chat. So if people want to send me a message, I'd love to talk about it a little more. All right, cheers. Have a good day.